Something is happening in your life right now, and you can feel it without being able to fully explain it. The pressure didn't come slowly. It showed up all at once. One moment you were moving forward, gaining clarity, feeling like things were finally starting to align, and then suddenly resistance, delays, confusion, unusual opposition that doesn't even seem logical. It's not just life being difficult. It feels targeted, like something noticed you. And the truth is, according to the Bible, that moment is real. There comes a point in your journey where your growth, your obedience, your faith, your potential becomes visible not just to God, but to the enemy. Not because you're perfect, not because you've arrived, but because you're moving in the right direction. Because something inside you is waking up. Because you're getting closer to what God actually called you to do. And that's when things shift. The battle intensifies. The distractions increase. The weight gets heavier right when you thought you were gaining momentum. It can make you question everything. Am I doing something wrong? Did I miss God? Why is this getting harder instead of easier? But here's what you need to understand in this moment. This is not a sign to stop. This is not proof that you're off track. This is often the clearest evidence that you are exactly where you're supposed to be. Because the enemy does not fight what isn't a threat. He doesn't waste energy on people who are standing still. He doesn't attack lives that carry no purpose. The moment you begin to grow, to change, to step into alignment with God, you become visible. And once you're noticed, there is always a response, not just from the enemy, but from God. Because God never allows a battle without a purpose. He never permits pressure without preparation. And He never lets you be targeted without already having a plan to strengthen you, guide you, and position you for what comes next. So what you're feeling right now, it's not random. It's not meaningless. It's part of a pattern. And if you stay with me, you're going to understand exactly what God does next and why everything you're facing is setting you up for something far greater than you can currently see. Number 1. God strengthens you before He elevates you. The first thing God does after the enemy notices you is not remove the battle. He strengthens you inside it. And this is where many people misunderstand what God is doing. Because when pressure increases, the natural reaction is to pray for escape. You want relief. You want the situation to change. You want the weight to lift. But instead, something else starts happening. You begin to change. Your thinking becomes sharper. Your reactions become calmer. Your tolerance becomes stronger. Things that once overwhelmed you no longer control you the same way. You're still in the storm, but you're not the same person inside it. That's not accidental. That's God building you, because elevation without strength leads to collapse. And God is not interested in raising you up just to watch you fall later. So before He opens doors, before He puts you in positions, before He allows you to carry greater influence or responsibility, He strengthens your foundation. This is the pattern all throughout the Bible. Before David ever wore a crown, he fought battles no one saw. Lions, bears, giants, private victories that prepared him for public leadership. Before Joseph stood in authority over Egypt, he endured betrayal, false accusations, and prison. Not because God forgot him, but because God was forming him. Before Jesus stepped into His public ministry, He was led into the wilderness, tested, pressured, proven. Why? Because strength is built in hidden places. And when the enemy notices you, the pressure he applies becomes the very tool God uses to develop you. So if you feel like things have gotten harder, if you feel stretched beyond what you're used to, if you feel like you're being forced to grow in ways you didn't expect, don't assume something is wrong. This is preparation. God is building a version of you that cannot be shaken by what's coming next. And when the moment of elevation arrives, you won't just step into it. You'll be ready to sustain it. Number 2. God exposes what was hidden around you. After God begins strengthening you, something else starts to happen. Things around you begin to shift, not just internally, but externally. People start revealing who they really are. Situations begin to unfold in ways you didn't expect. Conversations feel different. Environments feel different. What once felt normal suddenly feels uncomfortable, and it can feel confusing at first because it looks like things are falling apart. But in reality, God is pulling back the curtain, because when the enemy notices you, one of his strategies is to operate through what you cannot see: hidden motives, false support, wrong alignments, subtle influences that slowly pull you away from your purpose. So what does God do? He exposes it, not to hurt you, but to protect you, because you cannot step into what God has prepared for you while still connected to what was designed to limit you. And this exposure doesn't always feel good. It might look like distance growing between you and certain people. It might look like disappointment. It might look like realizing that something you trusted was never truly right for you. But clarity is a form of protection, and God would rather reveal the truth now than allow it to destroy you later. So when things begin to shift around you, don't rush to fix it. Don't rush to hold on to what is changing. Pause and ask yourself, what is God showing me right now? Because what feels like loss may actually be alignment. What feels like disruption may actually be direction. God is not removing things from your life randomly. He is clearing your path intentionally, so you can walk into what's next without anything holding you back. Number 3. God separates you for a higher assignment. After the exposure comes something even deeper: separation. And this is where it starts to feel personal, because it's no longer just about what you see. It's about what you're losing. People you used to talk to every day, you barely connect anymore. Conversations feel empty. Places that once felt comfortable now feel out of place. You try to go back to how things were, but something inside you won't let you. It feels like distance. It feels like disconnection. It can even feel like rejection. But this is not rejection. This is God repositioning you, because you cannot carry a higher calling while staying attached to a lower environment. And God knows that where He is taking you next requires space. It requires focus. It requires a version of you that is no longer influenced by what used to shape you. This is why, in the Bible, separation always comes before elevation. Abraham had to leave his land, his people, his familiarity before stepping into the promise. Joseph was separated from his family before stepping into leadership. Moses was pulled away into the wilderness before leading a nation. Even Jesus withdrew from crowds to align with the Father before moving in power. Separation is not punishment. It is preparation. And yes, it can feel lonely, because God will sometimes remove voices so you can finally hear His clearly. He will remove distractions so you can focus on what truly matters. He will remove what's familiar so you can step into what's destined. So if you feel like you're in a season where things are quiet, where your circle is smaller, where you're being pulled away from what you used to know, don't fight it. Don't try to force your way back into places you've already outgrown, because God is not isolating you to harm you. He is separating you to prepare you, and what He is preparing you for will require the version of you that is being formed right now. Number 4, God teaches you to hear Him clearly. When separation happens, something powerful begins to develop: your ability to hear God. Because when the noise around you decreases, His voice becomes clearer. At first, this can feel unfamiliar. You're used to relying on people, opinions, advice, external confirmation. But now, those things aren't as available anymore. And it forces you into a deeper place, a place of seeking, a place of listening, a place where you begin to ask not just, "What should I do?" but, "God, what are you saying?" And slowly, something shifts. You start recognizing His peace. You begin to sense His direction. You learn the difference between fear and His guidance, between confusion and His clarity. Because when the enemy notices you, one of his main strategies is noise, distraction, overthinking, voices that pull you in different directions. But God responds by drawing you closer. He doesn't compete with the noise. He calls you out of it. "My sheep hear my voice." That is not just a comforting statement. It is a spiritual reality. And in this season, God is training you to live by it. Because where you're going next, you cannot depend on constant reassurance from people. You cannot rely on external validation. You You must be led by His voice, led by His Spirit, led by a deep inner knowing that doesn't come from the outside, but from your relationship with Him. So if you feel like you're being pulled into a quieter place, if you feel like you're thinking more deeply, praying more intentionally, listening more carefully, that's not random. That's training. God is teaching you how to hear Him clearly. So when the moment comes to move, you won't hesitate. You'll know. Number 5. God builds your authority in the Spirit. As you begin to hear God more clearly, something else starts to rise within you. Confidence. Not the kind that comes from circumstances, not the kind that depends on everything going right, but a deeper, quieter strength. Spiritual authority. Because after the enemy notices you, the battle doesn't stay on the surface. It becomes spiritual. You begin to realize that not everything you're facing is just natural. Some things are meant to intimidate you, to drain you, to make you doubt who you are and what God has placed inside you. And before, you may have reacted to those moments. Fear, overthinking, pulling back. But now, something is different. You start standing instead of shrinking. You start praying with conviction instead of hesitation. You start speaking life instead of agreeing with fear. And it's not because the situation changed. It's because you changed. This is what God is doing. He is teaching you that you don't have to accept every thought, every pressure, every attack that comes your way. You have authority. The Bible says that greater is He who is in you than he who is in the world. And when that truth moves from something you've heard to something you believe, everything shifts. You stop seeing yourself as someone trying to survive, and you start seeing yourself as someone equipped to overcome. You begin to understand that your prayers carry power, that your words matter, that your position in Christ is not weak. It is established, and this is why God allows you to face certain battles, not to defeat you, but to reveal to you who you really are, because authority is not taught through comfort. It is developed through resistance. So if you feel like you're being pushed, if you feel like things are testing you at a deeper level, don't back down. Stand, because God is not just protecting you in this season, He is training you to walk in authority. And once you learn how to stand, the things that used to shake you will no longer move you at all. Number 6. God aligns the right opportunities and people. While all of this is happening internally, God is also working externally, quietly, precisely, strategically. Because as He prepares you, He also prepares what's around you. And this is where things begin to shift in a different way. Doors start opening, not forced, not chased, but aligned. You find yourself in the right place at the right time. You meet people who understand you without needing long explanations. Opportunities appear that match exactly what you've been growing into. And it feels different because it doesn't come with pressure. It comes with peace. This is divine alignment, because what God has for you will not require you to become someone you're not. It will meet the version of you He has been building. And here's the key. This alignment doesn't happen before the process. It happens after the strengthening, after the exposure, after the separation, after the training. Because if it came too early, you wouldn't recognize it, or worse, you wouldn't be ready for it. So God waits until you are aligned internally before He aligns things externally. And when it happens, you'll notice something powerful. You won't have to force connections. You won't have to chase validation. You won't have to struggle to make things work. What is meant for you will begin to flow toward you, not because the enemy stopped trying, but because God's plan cannot be blocked. So if you're still in the process right now, if you haven't seen the doors open yet, don't lose focus, because what God is aligning for you is already being positioned. And when it connects with where you are, it will feel right, it will be clear, and it will confirm everything God has been doing in your life all along. Number 7. God moves publicly after working privately. There comes a moment when everything shifts, not slowly, not subtly, but clearly. After all the hidden work, after the strengthening, the exposure, the separation, the training, the building, the aligning, God moves publicly, and what was once invisible becomes undeniable. This is the part people see, but they don't see what it cost you to get there. They don't see the nights you were confused but kept going. They don't see the moments you wanted to quit but chose to stay faithful. They don't see the internal battles you fought when no one was watching, but God saw it all, and He never wastes any of it, because God develops you in private, so He can reveal you in public. This is His pattern. Joseph went from prison to standing before Pharaoh in a single moment. David went from being overlooked to being anointed as king. Jesus went from hidden years to a ministry that changed the world. When God decides it's time, things move fast. Doors open that no one can shut. Favor appears that cannot be explained. Recognition comes without striving. And even the people who doubted you have to acknowledge that something greater is at work in your life. This is what happens when God moves. No manipulation, no forcing, no chasing, just alignment. An acceleration. And here is the most powerful part. The same attention that caused the enemy to notice you becomes the evidence of what God is doing through you. Because when God lifts you, no attack can stop it. No delay can cancel it. No opposition can block it. So if you're still in the process right now, hold on, because the public moment is coming. And when it arrives, you will understand why God kept you in the process as long as He did. Conclusion. So if you feel like something has shifted in your life, if the pressure has increased, if things around you are changing, breaking, or no longer making sense, don't panic. Don't step back. Don't assume you've done something wrong, because this is not random. This is a pattern. After the enemy notices you, God always moves next. He strengthens you. He reveals what was hidden. He separates you for something greater. He teaches you to hear Him clearly. He builds your authority. He aligns what is meant for you. And then, at the right moment, He moves in a way that cannot be ignored. So what you're walking through right now, it's not the end, it's preparation. You are not being attacked because you are weak. You are being targeted because you are becoming dangerous to what was meant to hold you back. Because you are getting closer, closer to purpose, closer to breakthrough, closer to the life God has already prepared for you. So stay steady, stay faithful, stay aligned, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's unclear, even when it feels like everything is being shaken, because God is not finished. And what He is about to do in your life will make every battle, every delay, every moment of confusion make sense. And when that moment comes, you won't just look back and understand the process. You'll see the purpose behind it, and you'll realize the reason the enemy noticed you is because God was about to move.